Twins of Reddit. What is something that was done told to you by accident when someone mistook you for your sibling? I'm a fraternal twin. Still, when my brother came out gay in high school, people were telling me how brave I was. It didn't help that I was the leader of the drama team. My twin and I look nothing alike, yet in high school one of us was left out of the yearbook. I guess our nearly identical first names was too confusing to the editors. My boyfriend is an identical twin. He wears glasses and his brother doesn't. Me and the boyfriend were lying in bed listening to music. It was dark, and he took his glasses off. I turned to him and said, "Oh, how long have you had your glasses off?" He replied, "I didn't, I'm twin brother." For a split second I believed him. I still haven't forgiven him. I have 3 older brothers. We all sound very similar. While growing up, I was able to maintain phone conversations with their friends, and specifically girlfriends, without the friend knowing unless I told them who I was. Nothing noteworthy was ever revealed. Turns out my brothers led pretty boring lives. Used the facial recognition on my brother's laptop to bypass his password. I guess we look a lot more alike than I thought. I'm an identical twin, and have had several women walk up to me and call me a jerk, butt, prick, etc. Even thought I was about to get slapped by women I had never even met because my brother played them or been a dong. Keep a picture of you two together on your phone. Show it to anyone who gets pee at you, even if it wasn't your brother's fault. I, as a male, have a twin sister. Never had anyone mix us up, but I did have people who thought we were a couple because they always saw us together, as we shared a car until after we graduated. Yeah, that happened with my brother and sister. They're twins. They're always together, and have been mistaken for a couple quite a few times. Also, I think it would be weird if a family gave handshakes more than hugs. I don't think I've ever shaken the hand of anyone in my immediate family. So good seeing you. You lost weight. You look much better. But then it was my great aunt mistaking my sister for me. Ouch. At least you know you're the pretty one. D. Twins in our class would pretend it's the other twin in classes. I still can't believe some teachers couldn't tell them apart. I switched classes with my twin brother for a whole day once. I told one of my teachers at the end of the day. He had no idea, and I got yelled at by his math teacher because his notes were a big freaking mess. Oh man, I'd forgotten this story until now. In college my brother came to visit me and a lot of people on the floor didn't know I had an identical twin yet. One kid found out when he was pretty stoned. He left my room, leaving me in the room, and then passed me again as my brother was returning from the bathroom. Poor stoner got so freaked out he went and hid under the bed for a while. Must have thought there was a glitch in the matrix. I was walking down the hall in high school when someone jumped on my back, arms over my shoulders, legs around my waist, her hair falling in front of me as she peeked around to see my face. I was really surprised, but still smiling as I turned my head. She looked shocked. "You aren't, you soul inspired, are you?" "Nope." I introduced myself, and we became good friends. She stayed on my back through the whole exchange. Also, whenever he misbehaved when we lived with our parents, my mom would begin the reprimand with my name, then correct herself and look really flustered. Not exactly, but I figure it relates enough. As a twin who, along with my twin, dated a pair of twins in high school, I knew it was bad when the 4 of us met up before a big high school party and I went in to greet my girlfriend with a hug. Only problem being, of course, that I couldn't really tell the difference between the two and it wasn't my girlfriend. GF wasn't happy that I hugged her sister and ignored her. You and your bro should have just instantly switched places for the rest of the day to cover. I have an embarrassing twin story. Freshman year, I'd see this cute girl around campus and thought I'd try to ask her out. I introduced myself and got to know her a bit. We'd often eat in the same cafeteria. A week or 2 later, I see her in the hall. I come up on her from behind and say something stupid like, "Hey, what are you doing Friday? Let's get dinner." No small talk. I nervously went right in for it. She turns and looks at me like a deer in headlights, like I was a stalker or something, and mumbles, "I think you want my sister." Turns out she had a twin and I had the most awkward walk of shame down the hall. After seeing the right twin again, I asked her out and we went on a couple dates. Didn't work out, but I met her twin a few other times. Turns out she was the nice one. TLDR. I asked out the wrong twin, both figuratively and literally. In high school, before the end of class, we were waiting for the bell to ring and my teacher started yelling at me to come back into class. I was standing right behind her and my twin happened to be outside waiting for my class to finish. She was quite embarrassed. Further back in primary school, elementary school, I would sometimes get a stern talking to from a teacher for whatever bad behavior had just been reported by the closest snitch younger children. I was usually innocent, but I did cover by request. Most other occurrences are just people freaking out because we neglect to tell them that we have a twin brother. Your license and everything seems fine. Have a good day, sir. Not really my twin, but my brother. We look very much alike. His driver's license got me through too much trouble. My brothers are twins. From Glasgow. One of them went to Rome to take part in a marathon, and while he was there, somebody approached him and said hi. Other twins named neither of them had ever been to Italy before and they still haven't found out who the guy was. So I have a twin sister. We're both girls, mind you. In middle school I started dating a girl and it was awesome. My first steps into the land of lesbian. Me and this girl would hang out every day after school and talk on the phone every night. I was over the moon in love. A few weeks into the relationship, she says to me, "I really can't stand your sister Skeffs. You're so much more attractive, Alex." I'm Skeffs. She thought she was dating my sister the entire time. I am a transfer student at a university that my twin brother has already been a part of for a year. My brother is pretty popular and a part of the largest fraternity. Every single day I have people come and talk to me and I continue conversations because I don't know if they think I am him, or it's someone I met at a party and don't remember. Really weird. There are twin brothers in my dorm and they deliberately dress the same to confuse people. It took me about 6 months to figure out the details to separate them. I still joke around and call them wrong names. Joke. I have an idea which is which. I'm relevant 26 years old male twin here. My bro is on Reddit too. Won't tell you who. Anyways, when we were under 10 years old we were on a swim team. During one of the competitions, I was up on the diving block ready to start my race when all of a sudden, I get yanked off by my parents. They dragged me down the walkway and past all the hundreds of people and out of the YMCA. I was then spanked and yelled at for fighting with a boy of a similar age during one of the breaks in the meet. Obviously this was traumatizing for me, because I had no idea what happened and we constantly blamed things on each other so they would not believe it wasn't me. Eventually they deduced that it was my brother because he had a tendency to wander off during the meets and I normally stayed in the area where I was supposed to be. I forgot mention that the child had his mother point me out on the block. Then I was carted off. This was just one of 1,000 times that one of us was disciplined for the other's actions. We blamed things on each other all the time. TLDR. My twin beat some kid, so my parents beat me. Twin life. Now if you could force a set of twins on a swim team in the right age group, you could have 2 identical looking relays. That would frick with the competition. Nothing too much, really. In school, we'd get the other's papers back so we would know what the other got, but anything big or important, they'd usually preface with a name so we correct if necessary and prevent embarrassment. There was one time, playing Halo 2, I unleashed a frenzy of curse words as my mom came downstairs. She asked who did it, because we have similar voices, and I blamed him. He had no idea what to do and just accepted it. That was a win for me that day. I'm not a twin, but in high school a friend of mine was dating this girl who had a near identical twin. They were both athletic redheads. Pretty dang hot to be honest. Anyways, we were at this party and he was there with his girlfriend and her twin was also there. So eventually he gets pretty tipsy and he goes up to his girlfriend's sister, grabs her butt and slides his other hand up her back and then goes around under her shirt and starts copping a feel. She turns around and my friend straight up just stops for a second, stares at her and straight up just runs away. Full sprint right the frick out of there. He didn't really tell me or anyone what his girlfriend did. but I'm fairly certain they almost broke up. Either that, or he had a glorious twincest three-way. Obviously the latter. I have a twin, but it's a twin brother, and I'm a chick. I feel sad that none of these twin threads are ever relevant to us. I am not a twin, but I have a somewhat relevant story. While in second year of college, I noticed a whole lot of extra people saluting me in the corridors that I didn't recognize. I put this down to the fact that the college I was in had a 5:1 ratio of girls to guys, so just by being a guy, I would stand out in a way. This was until one night, while out in a bar, I got to talking with a girl at the bar and we ended up chatting for quite a while, but something seemed a little bit off about the conversation. We were just talking about college, but whenever she would mention a story about her classmates, she would call them by name as though I knew who she was talking about. Around a week later, I bumped into a friend of mine who would have been a year below me sitting next to the same girl. I acknowledged them both and my friend proceeded to tell me that she had mistaken me for another boy in her year, named Lorcan. She claimed to be quite good friends with this Lorcan boy, but still managed to talk to me for over 15 minutes without realizing I wasn't him. Fast forward a year down the line, where on numerous occasions I've heard the words, "Oh my god, you look so like Lorcan." And I totally thought that was Lorcan. So I'm at a house party and I'm in the kitchen and from behind me I hear a voice say, "Have you met my friend Lorcan?" I turned. Our eyes met, and in that instant it was obvious we were both thinking the same thing. "It's you." Turns out he's a pretty cool guy. Talked with him a good bit that night but haven't seen him since. Here's my story, copied from when this sort of question was asked before. Since my twin and I went to different universities, we've had friends or acquaintances that don't know the other twin. So I've had friends of my twin mistake me for him and I appear rude or forgetful because I don't recognize the friend. This is more frustrating because my twin has a beard and I don't, but I guess they think my hair can grow super fast. One example of this was when I graduated and when having my photo taken, an old lecturer came up to my twin and congratulated him on graduating. My twin explained that he wasn't me, but she kept insisting that she was my twin's old lecturer, eventually giving up and leaving. I was told all this after I'd finished with the photographer and tried finding my lecturer to explain, but after a while looking I had to give up. So my lecturer probably still thinks that I have major short-term memory problem or isn't a. I managed to get some work experience for my twin once by having him work the reception area of the office I worked in. This caused confusion for all manner of people who presumed I'd not only grown a beard but had switched jobs. I then made quite a few people angry by forgetting them, or being asked to do something but then having no recollection of being given a job. The amount of times I told people and there was still confusion. Then after my twin finished his temporary job there for months after, I had people wondering why I had switched back to my old job. Ugh. I got yelled at by a drunk girl for 5 minutes. Turns out my twin had a one-night stand with her friend. Took me a while to convince her I was the other twin. I know a twin story. Neighbors were these teen twins. Downvote for tongue twister. One guy had an almost amiable and docile personality, but the other one was devil's reincarnation. Apparently the butthole one sent his naked selfie to his school teacher, my teacher too, who complained to his parents. That guy denied that he ever did that but was home jailed for several days along with usual beatings. This is India. Kids get spanked, okay. After some time the good one confessed to me during a get together that it was him who did that from his brother's cell for stealing his homework. He was high-fived. I sound almost exactly like my mother, and when I was 13, I just happened to be the one to answer the phone when the wife of the guy my mom was seeing called our house. Not a fun experience for me. Not to me but to my brother. We're identical twins. My girlfriend kissed my brother. I know men are twins who have a fear that the girlfriend or boyfriend will like the other twin. Something funny is when someone says it must suck sharing. I could never share and I reply, well, I've kinda been sharing before birth. Naturally, it all started with the womb. I call my twin Stinky. As you can imagine, my GF doesn't like the way he smells. I also call him Spare Parts. Any twin in this thread can use that nickname. Not a twin, but I do have an older brother, 5 years older, and the family resemblance is very strong. He owns his own company and I used to work for him. customers were constantly thinking I was him. Oh, and his wife gave me a kiss once. We all still laugh about it. Identical twin here. So when me and my brother turned 9 years old, we went to a medieval castle with our friends as a birthday party. The group was too big to go in at once, so my brother and some friends went in first and I went in with the others 10 minutes after them. When we got in, a woman showed us a box with some tour guides and other stuff. She showed everything in the box to us, except a few rubber bands that were just in the box. So she was like, and this is a guide and this a map and this etc. When she finished her speech, she forgot the rubber bands. So me being my 9-year-old self grabbed the rubber bands and yelled "Oh you," and these rubber bands. The look on her face was amazing. It was a mix between real confusion and slight panic. She was like, "Why are you still here? Where is your group? Why are you doing this?" Turns out my brother, hi you sakti hoofed, said the exact same thing the exact same way at the exact same time. She thought I just randomly joined the other group. Took some time to convince her it was my brother. Can confirm. Lady was dumb as heck. 0/10 would not take tour again. This might get buried, but worth sharing. I have 2 stories, a nasty one and a funny one. My grandmother Margaret was an identical twin born in 1930, which is when the whole dress the twins exactly the same thing was big. My mother has a calendar with their pictures on it where they look like copies. Apparently she was less spunky than her sister Annie. They were Catholic and when the family had money problems, due to my great grandfather's alcoholism, the girls and their older brother got shipped off to Catholic boarding school, which would have been in Ontario or possibly Quebec. For those of you who don't know what that means, watch the movie Doubt, the documentary Me Maxima Culpa, or listen to some of the stories from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission happening in Canada right now. Though my grandmother was not Indigenous, they explain the absolute power the priests especially had over the children. Due to my grandmother's more quiet nature, she was targeted by the priest. He would call her out of class to his private office, shut the door, and then do whatever he wanted. For obvious reasons, the specifics of those moments haven't been passed on in the family's oral history. She told Annie about it. Being spunky, she did the only thing a child of 9 or 10 could do. After that, when the priest called for my grandmother, Annie would go to him instead. Now for the funny story. When Margaret and Annie grew up, they went to Catholic nursing school together and were quite hot on the dating market. The nursing school had a dorm and a mother superior who looked after the students, but dating was acceptable. So Annie has a date set up but gets sick, and she sends Margaret down to tell the dude that the date is off. The date looks my grandmother in the face and says, "Wow, you have a lot of nerve, Annie." He cuts her off as she tries to explain and goes on a rant. Other students try to explain they are twins and this only pisses him off more. She even gets the mother superior, who is a dowdy old lady, and he doesn't even believe her. ETA. Periods. Annie is amazing. Freaking amazing. I once got my brother into a fight after calling the school's resident juice head and butthole for cutting me in the lunch line. He got in my face and told me to punch him because he was too much of a wuss to actually start the fight. I wasn't nearly as angry as he was, so I just got my food and left. He ended up attempting to beat up my twin brother who is a lot stronger than I am. It didn't go so well. I personally think that went perfectly. In Reddit fashion, I'm not a twin, but my older brother and I look very similar apparently. Well, in high school he would always take the long way to his class so that he could pass through my hallway, but go in the opposite direction of me. He would then find one of my teachers and yell at them while passing by or flip them off or something. When I show up I would get a talking to. Always sucked. They never believed me. Though I had some issue where I would just go crazy for 30 seconds every week or so because I was normally a good student and so they never got me in trouble. My dentist tried to fill my cavity in the location that my brother had a cavity. Thankfully the metal band he was trying to put on wouldn't fit because he wasn't in the right spot, and they had to stop and sort it out. The assistant realized the error before he could. This kind of thing is why you get asked your name and birthday when you take 5 steps from one room to the or when you get LASIK. I'm a girl with a fraternal twin sister. We don't look much alike so we rarely get confused. A couple years ago in college I sat next to this girl in geography class and she also sat a couple rows away from me in a sexuality class. One day in sexuality class the professor asked if anyone was a twin, so I raised my hand, but I didn't specify that I was fraternal. A couple days later, the girl I sat next to in geography class asked me if I had a twin. I was surprised she knew this cause I totally forgot she was even in my sexuality class. We sat several rows away from each other. I said yes. How did you know that? She says. Oh, your twin is in my sexuality class. My sister at the time went to a different college 400 miles away. After a brief second of utter confusion, I realized she had confused me with me. Geography was on 2/3. Sexuality was on Monwed, so I was always wearing a different outfit. She assumed I had an identical twin who was in her sexuality class. It was pretty bizarre. TLDR, a girl in college confused me for myself. This is my second comment, because I just remembered. LOL. In middle school my sister was in a computer class and the teacher was super mean. So when her trimester in the class was done and the second trimester came around I happened to G put in that class. As I was walking into it the teacher looked at me and yelled, "What are you doing in here? Why are you back?" I instantly broke down crying, nervous and was scared because I knew she was mean, and had to explain that I am a twin. My wife is an identical twin. I grabbed my wife's ears and whispered in her ear, "I'm going to frick the heck out you," in her ear. She looked shocked, realized it was her sister. Knew these identical twins in high school, though you could tell them apart easily. Let's call them Twin A and Twin B. I hung out with Twin B and his GF Gen one night. Next day at school, I ran into Twin B in restroom and asked him if he hit a home run with Jen. Twin B looks at me confused and I asked again. He ignored me and walked out of the bathroom pee off. Later that day in the school courtyard, I see Twin B getting into a fight with a second Twin B. Found out that they are actually identical triplets. Triplet A doesn't look as much alike, but Triplet B and C looks totally identical, and Jen was dating both Triplet B and C. Okay, not a twin, but I have a twin story. Actually, a triplet story. So, it's important to know that I'm bad with names. Really, saying I'm bad with names is an understatement. I dated my first girlfriend for a month before I had a good solid grasp on what her name was. But that's another embarrassing story. Anyway, I was very casually acquainted with these two girls who were twins, and I didn't realize it. We would basically hang out on a short break after classes and we'd talk, but I only ever met one at a time. So April and I would hang out after my math class, since our classes were next to each other, and May and I would hang out after English. Same reason for her. I'd never call them by their name, because I know I was bad with names and nobody ever really uses people's names when talking with a person. Only when talking about a person. And whenever someone else would say the name, I knew I'd just messed up what I thought their name was. It wasn't until a long time later that June, the third sister, and I met while I was talking with April, and June actually looks fairly different, and much shorter. She was sick as a kid. I commented to April, "She looks a lot like you," and she replied, "Yeah, we're triplets." Suddenly, the previous several months made a lot more sense. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.